Do is we're going to open up a new project, and it's going to be a GameMaker language project. So we're not going to do drag and drop. We're going to do GameMaker language. And I'm going to name this Stencyl Platformer. And you guys are going to name it your name Platformer. All right. And so this is the workspace that you're going to learn more about over the coming weeks and months. But there's a couple important buttons for you. This button here that looks like a disk, this is the Save Project button. You want to click that periodically when you feel like you're in a good place. This is the Play button. This is what you're going to use to test your code. And then over here is a bunch of folders. And so most of the folders are empty. If you click on the little arrow, there's nothing in them. This one folder that's white, called Rooms, it has one room in it. Today we're going to look at the Objects folder, the Rooms folder, and the Sprites folder. We'll look at some of the others over time, but that's the big ones for today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on Sprites, and then we're going to right click, and we're going to hover over the word create, and then hover down to the word sprite, and we're going to create a sprite. And I'm going to do this two different ways. I'm going to show you how to import your animation if you have a sprite sheet, and I'll show you how to import it if you do not have a sprite sheet. So first, the sprite sheet way, I'm going to click Edit Image right here. And then I'm going to click on the word Image, and I'm going to click Import Strip Image. And I'm going to search on the left-hand side for my downloads, and I'm going to get my walking image. And this menu comes up. I need to count how many frames I have in my walking animation. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might have 1, you might have 5, you might have 20, whatever. I have 7. So I'm going to have my number of frames be 7. I'm going to have my rows, frames per row, be 1. And then right now it's showing that it's that big, and so it looks like I need it to be 64. So I'm going to switch this to 64. And now you can see it's given me 7 boxes, and each one of these is in its own little box. I'm going to click the Convert button, and I have my different frames broken out. And I can hit play, and it shows it playing. Everything's good there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have these different tabs open. So I'm in Sprite 1 tab. I'm going to click back on the Workspace tab. And I'm going to rename this for being Sprite 1. I'm going to call it S, lowercase s, which stands for Sprite, and then Player. And then if I wanted to slow down the rate that it's playing, like right now it's at 30 frames per second, but maybe I want it more like 12 frames a second, I can just make this a 12, hit the play button, and I can see it's walking at a much better pace. Okay, now I'm going to create the next sprite. So I'm going to come back over here to my folder. I'm going to right click on Sprites, Create, Sprite, and this is going to be my wall. So I'm going to delete the name, and I'm going to call it S for Sprite, and then capital Wall. And let's say I don't have a wall image yet. I can click Edit Image, and I can create a wall image by clicking on the color and then clicking on the fill tool and filling in a wall. The other thing that I could do is I could import an image. So let's say I just wanted to import hold on one second. You know, I want to import this image. I can just import that image. But I'm going to go back to this creating just a wall. Again, you'll have plenty of time to do artwork some other day. It doesn't need to be done today. So I'm going to click back on the workspace. If this is still saying 64 by 64, you can click the resize and change this to be 32 by 32 by editing these. So if this was like 64, now it says 64 by 64, and I can switch it back to 32 by 32 by clicking that. Okay, so now I have my wall sprite and I have my player sprite. And so now I'm going to click the wall sprite and wall object and player object. So I'm going to click on objects. I'm going to right click on object, click create and object. And it automatically puts this object into my objects folder. And I'm going to rename this to be O for object and then player. And the O player, I'm going to click where it says no sprite, and I'm going to give it the player sprite. And then I'm going to create another object. So right click on the objects folder, click create, and I'm going to create another, whoops, I created a path by mistake. I'm going to destroy that path, so I'm going to right click on it and click delete. And I'm going to create the object. All right, so this one is going to be O wall, or maybe you have it named O dirt. It's whatever you want. This stands for object wall. And again, I click on the no sprites, and I click on the sprites tab, and I get my S wall as being a sprite. And that is as far as we're going to get in this video.